Just a little housekeeping. Doug Marisavine is returning, probably swimming hard across the ocean, returning from vacation with his family. We wish them safe travels back. I have asked Mr. Reisman to lead us in the pledge, so sir, the floor is yours.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, sir. Tonight we have Pastor Wayne Hancock from Cross Timbers Church of Christ to lead the invocation. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Will you pray with me? Most merciful and gracious God, we just thank you for your presence here with us this evening. We thank you for the blessings and the prosperity that you showered upon our city of Stephenville, and we just ask for your continued blessing, guidance, and protection over our city. And Father, I just ask that you bless all these entrusted with the leadership of our city. Grant them minds to know you and hearts to love you. Give them the wisdom and knowledge they need to lead our city in truth and in justice. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. So now is an opportunity for citizens' general discussion. I don't have anybody, but is there anybody here that wishes to address the council tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Under regular agenda, I'm going to advise council that we're going to pull items 1 and 2 off this agenda. The city uses outside people to generate some numbers to do these 2 items, and there's some discrepancies there. So out of an abundance of caution not to do something that we have to try to redo later, we're going to pull that. What that means for us as a body is that sometime next week, early next week, there will be a special meeting. So be advised, there'll be a called meeting. Once the numbers are clarified, we will take these 2 items up. Okay? Moving on to item 3, citizens' budget request. Is there anyone here tonight that's going to speak for budget request? Okay.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
I did, City Secretary did provide y'all a hard copy of one email that I had received about a week ago or so from one citizen, just kind of for y'all's knowledge purposes.
Okay, thank you, sir. And there's another opportunity for this, right? Is there one more?
Certainly, as we start the budget hearings on the 14th, and they're open to the public, and so should somebody have other requests that they either want to email in or come in person, we'd be glad to take those up.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, moving on to item number 4, what I need to begin here is a motion to remove from the table that item. Does someone have that motion for me?
Make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
So a motion is second. There'll be no discussion on this. All those in favor of removing this item from the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So that is back in front of us for discussion. So we would need some kind of a motion to consider approval of these amendments. Do I hear that motion?
Mayor, as chair of the committee to review the city charter, and after unanimous vote on the charter committee July 18th, bringing the full council to be placed on the November 23rd ballot, Proposition 2, or shall the city of Stephenville amend Article 3, Section 5 and 10 of the city charter of the city of Stephenville to increase the number of terms candidates seeking public office can hold by changing the existing term of office for all city of Stephenville council members from 2 two-year terms to 3 two-year terms for a maximum total time in office of 6 years.
Is there a second?
Second.
So a motion and seconds before us to amend the charter. Is there any discussion?
We're just taking up Proposition 2?
Just 2. One's already been done.
Okay.
Anybody have anything? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. That will be on the ballot in November. Moving on to item number 5, need to consider an ordinance, approving an ordinance to order the special election. Anybody want to provide that motion?
Mr. Pro Tem, I will make the motion to approve the special elections ordinance 2023-0-20.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the authorization of the special election. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that passes unanimously also. Item number 6 on the agenda is consider changing the date in October for the regular council meeting. I guess, is that you?
We typically in October ask to change that first Tuesday due to the TML conference, Texas Municipal League. Usually several of our executive staff members, as well as some of y'all, are attending the conference. And so we asked to push that to the second Tuesday, which I believe is the 10th. And so by charter, if we're going to change from the first Tuesday, it does require a vote of the council.
Any questions for Jason on that? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Pro Tem, I make the motion that we change our October regular city council meeting to October 10th, 2023.
Motion and second to change the October meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes unanimously. Item number 7.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. As you know, from time to time, we come before you when we're asked by our steering committee related to Encore, when those companies file rate cases to increase the rates system-wide. That steering committee that of all the cities that we join up together, Encore is asked to raise their rates system-wide by approximately $152.78 million. And so the steering committee has asked us to deny that and asked all cities to deny that, to give them time to break that down and try to negotiate with Encore to bring those rate increases down. So that's what we're asking tonight is to vote on that resolution to deny the increases as presented.
Any questions for Jason? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that the city deny Resolution 2023-R-11, Encore denial of the cost recovery factor application proposed by Encore Electric Delivery Company.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes unanimously. And then item number 8 is to consider a professional service agreement. I assume that is Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Council. This item is regarding the Lillian Pump Station, which sits just on the southern part of town. It actually receives and treats water from 2 different well fields, and it's pivotal. What happens is the station being built in 2001, it supplies water to 2 of our pressure planes, which is a high plane and a low plane. And in the agenda, you'll see a copy of the memo behind it. I've got some photographs from inside the pump station itself, and it helps understand what we're doing here. So if you were to walk into the pump station, you would see 3 pumps on your left side and 3 pumps on your, or 3 spots for pumps on your right side. The 3 pumps on your left side would be for the high plane. Those are all installed. You'd see 2 pumps on your right side for the low plane. This particular project is a request to enter into an agreement with Providence Engineering for the construction documents to install that third pump on the right side for the low plane. And so all this does is provide those construction documents and the engineering necessary to install that third pump, the electrical components, the SCADA components. And it is for $50,000. It was budgeted in this current fiscal year, 22-23. And so we have all those funds available. We waited kind of to the end of the year to make sure we would have enough funds to do that. Finance assures that we do have those funds still available, and it is budgeted. Should the agreement be approved, it has an 18-month timeframe. 9 months of that is for the design. The following 9 months would only be for construction if the construction were approved at a subsequent time. So this would provide you with the construction documents ready to go if the construction were to be approved at a later date. The estimated construction would be $600,000 to install this pump, motor, base, piping, electrical components, and certainly we wouldn't enter into the final phase of that unless or until that final phase of construction would be approved at a later date. Happy to answer questions. I know you've got some.
So, obviously the soft costs have been budgeted. The hard costs, have that gone into, is this gonna be a utility fund mechanism that will fund this, or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so you'll see that in the forecasted budget. I've actually got it in here as the 25-26 budget year. We'll be looking at doing some improvements at the Lillian Pump Station, and so it would make sense to do that at that same time, hopefully to bring down that construction cost. I will say this, I do feel like that construction estimate is high, but I want to leave it there just to be conservative. All of our electrical components, we've been surprised by how high that cost has been.
We're anticipating cash funding that then?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Nick? Well, I've got one. So I know Providence has done some other work for us, satisfactory in every way, in your mind?
Yes, sir. To date, 100% satisfactory with them. We do keep them on their toes, but we have been
That's
very
good.
happy
That's
with
your
their work.
job.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Nick? Thank you, sir. I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion to approve the professional services agreement for the Lillian Pump Station distribution pump with Providence for $50,000.
A motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? That will pass on unanimously. Thank you, Nick. So we are up to Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Killen.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, Council. Only one item tonight. It's an update on PD 2021-001. 2021-001. This is the PD at the corner of Harbin and Swan. It's Mr. Taylor Canute and Malcolm Canute, and they are here tonight. PD ordinance requires an annual update on a project. This project has been going on since 2021. June is when it was approved by council. Mr. Canute and his team hit some pretty significant development delays dealing with the railroad because they had to bore underneath the railroad to extend a sewer line. And so they had to work with the railroad quite closely for an extended period. And so they are here tonight to request an extended development schedule for this project. They are asking for a 12-month extension. This went to P&Z just a couple of weeks ago, and they did recommend that the council extend the development schedule as presented, but they did ask that Mr. Canute come back in a 6-month period and just update the commission on where he is with the project. Speaking with Mr. Canute, sounds like they have a lot of things accomplished and that they are ready to get started again on the project. In fact, he was thinking that some of the civil work would have been underway this week, but they hit another delay, and he can speak more clearly on that than I can, but just be glad to answer any questions in relation to this request. And again, Mr. Canute is here to answer any questions as well.
Any questions for Steve? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So at this moment, we could, I will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance extending this development plan, if someone so inclined.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make the motion that we approve the ordinance extending, extending this, PD 2021-001.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the extending this development plan as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes on. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Appreciate what you do. That moves us on to the Public Works Committee. That would be me. So, Public Works Committee met 18 July. Everybody was present. We had a discussion about the amending the franchise agreement with Waste Connections. Waste Connections does the solid waste disposal for the city of Stephenville. And I'm going to ask that Mr. Williams come and give us a couple of the highlights on that, if you don't mind, Nick.
Yes, sir. So we've looked at the renewal of our contract with Waste Connections, and let's see, it currently expires in December 31st, 2028. I'm sorry, December 31st, 2023 of this year. That's why they're looking for the renewal. They do have some new management here locally, so their responses have been much better than they've been in the past. We've been very pleased with the service that we've received here in the past. Council made a unanimous recommendation to approve their renewal. It'd be for a term of 5 years, expiring December 31st, 2028. It also guarantees that the rates would not change whatsoever throughout 2024.
And I think, Nick, during the committee meeting, we talked a little bit about we can sever this agreement, correct, if we wind up with.
Yes, sir. There are
Things-
provisions to do that
Okay.
throughout the agreement. Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else have questions for Nick on this contract amendment? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, make the motion to accept the renewal amendment with the solid waste franchise agreement with, where's the name? Waste Connections.
Second.
A motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of renewing this amendment with solid waste franchise agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That will pass unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Second item that we talked about at the Public Works Committee meeting was utility extension outside the city limits. And we, I think as a committee, we agreed on the language. The question became how to do that. And Nick, again, if you don't mind, I'll ask you to step up and tell us how you got that done for us.
Yes, sir. So the extension of utility services beyond the city limits would just be a policy written into the engineering standards manual. And page 59 of your agenda shows that very short policy as it is written out. And so in order to receive the water and or wastewater utilities, a property would need to be contiguous to the city limits and agree to be annexed into the city limits in order to receive that property. I'm sorry, to receive that service. The extension of utility services for property not contiguous to the city limits would still be at the discretion of the city manager, and certainly other things would be taken into consideration: building, zoning, codes, regulations, ordinances, et cetera.
So any questions for Nick on this policy adjustment? And Jason, you feel this is what you need to?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do we have any, do we have any properties right now that aren't contiguous that are receiving city utilities?
No. We had at least one request that I've denied by utilizing all those factors.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. With that, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I would make a motion to approval of the policy for the extension of utility services beyond the city limits.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving the policy for extension of utility services signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes unanimously. Ms. Smith.
So the nominations committee met on July 18th. Mr. Newby was so gracious to host that for me since I was out of town. But we were discussing the vacancies on the citizen board, and it was for BOA. We made the following recommendations: to move J.J. Conway from an alternate to place one, replacing Mr. Brown, and then placing John Trawick as an alternate as the first alternate. This passed unanimously by the committee. So I just would like to make a motion that we, I guess for place one, we move J.J. Conway from alternate to place one. First motion. We have to do it in two motions, right?
You do them together.
Okay, and then I'd like to make in the same motion, move John Trawick to the alternate one position for the Board of Adjustments.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All those in favor of the appointments as presented signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Anything else, ma'am?
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Monica, we will move on to financial reports.
Mayor Pro Tem Council. We've looked at the financial statements ending June 30th, 2023. We're 9 months into our fiscal year, and things are, again, still about what we had anticipated, or a little bit better. For our property taxes, we received $26,000 in the month of June, or rounding down towards the end of it. It's $446,000 increase over the funds collected last fiscal year to date. We're at 97% of our budget. And that's about $167,000 less than we would have anticipated. We received $714,000 in sales tax in June. It's $909,000 or 15% more than the funds collected last fiscal year to date. We're 79% of our budget, and that's $456,000 higher than anticipated. Of the $37.5 million revenue received to date, 52% is for the general fund, 25% is for water, wastewater, and 6% is the landfill fund. We've received 86% of our total budgeted revenues through June. That's $3.6 million more than anticipated, and that's due to taxes, charges for services, and other revenues, such as our investment income, donations, and our debt proceeds. We received $22.5 million less in revenue than last fiscal year to date, and that's mainly due to our debt proceeds. So when you take that out of the equation and you just look at the other things, we received $1.5 million more in taxes, $505,000 more in intergovernmental, and $470,000 more in charges for services over last fiscal year to date. Of the $44.6 million spent to date, 43% is for the water and wastewater fund, 38% is for the general fund, and 8% is for capital projects fund, and then 4% is for landfill. We've expended 48% of our total budgeted expenditures through June, which is almost $22.9 million less than anticipated. And the bulk of that is due to capital, some of it's due to personnel, and then some of it is due to contractual. We've spent $11 million more in expenditures through June than last fiscal year to date, and obviously the bulk of that is our capital. CEDA has received an overall 84% of their budgeted revenue through June, and that's $50,000 more than last year and $80,000 more than anticipated due to taxes and interest income. CETA has spent an overall 39% of budgeted expenditures through June, and that's $346,000 more than last year to date, and that's due to personnel and grant disbursements, but it's $652,000 less than anticipated due to capital outlay and grant disbursements. For our investments, the city's total market value of cash and investments on June 30th, 2023 was $66.2 million. This is allocated 4% in demand accounts, 1% in cash money market accounts, 2% in certificates of deposits, and less than 1% in treasuries. The bulk of it is 55% in Techstar investment pool and 38% in the TexPool investment pool. We've earned $837,000 in interest for the quarter. The average yield to maturity for all of our account types for the quarter was 4.83%. The average yield to maturity for just our investment accounts, not our demand accounts, was 4.95%, and that compares to the average yield to maturity for a 3-month treasury bill, which is 5.08%. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Monica?
Monica, the property tax, is that any concern to be in all that?
We won't make up all of that money, and part of that reason is because during the year, so we get our tax levy and all that goes through, but during the year, there will be supplements that come out. And so when they make settlements or things like that with people, those settlements, that the property value gets decreased in some cases. Sometimes it's increased, but we won't, when they decrease it, we don't get that revenue. We'll get some of it because as we move through the next 3 months, we'll get some more revenue in, but we won't get all of it.
And that, the group that was here at the last meeting to discuss, they work with the county as well, right?
Mhm.
Or I guess all the municipalities in the county.
No, not all of the agencies have the same attorneys. So I know they work with us in Bluffdale and the
Besides.
schools.
And we're tracking sales tax wise about, it looks like maybe just slightly above last year's
Yes,
in the
so
last couple of months.
we were looking at earlier today. For June, we were 4% above last year, and then for July, we've already looked at that. We're about 6%. So we're, we are above, but where we had those big increases coming
Starting to
in, we've
flatten.
started to it went. I think the month of May was only like 0.38%. It was less than 1% than what we were the year before.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
But is that on track with statewide average? I mean, are we in the ballpark statewide?
I actually think we're doing a little bit better than statewide, so, because when we were seeing some anywhere of the 23 to 14, 10%, a lot of people were saying they were hitting, I think, about 10%, and we've seen a lot of people, from things that I've read, that, they've leveled out or had less, and we haven't, we're just now seeing it, so I think we're a little bit behind what some of the other state is experiencing.
State's 6.25.
Yeah.
And we're at 14 right now, year-over-year growth. On the rolling 12 months.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. Almost, it's 14 and some change, almost 15% for the.
Stephenville's a good place to be.
Monica, on those CDs and this rising rate environment, there we go. I say that every day, you'd think I'd know by now. When is the maturity date for those?
So we have maturities, we have a ladder, and so
Stack.
it rolls out. So if we get one we don't typically go out more than a year.
Okay, so chances we can take advantage a little bit of the higher rates on those? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Monica?
Do we have 66 million to spend?
No, we do not. I repeat that, no.
It's irrelevant. It's
Somebody cut the camera.
it's out. So it is there's restrictions associated with it.
Yes. So, I mean, we have, we still have quite a bit of the 2018 Texas Water Development Board money that is not spent, and we've got, a good bulk of the 2022 certificate of obligation money that was, about 22 million combined that, we still need to get a bunch of that spent, so, I mean, and that's why you're
Spending,
seeing.
It's going through, you're seeing it on Long Street and.
Yeah.
Remember, we have 73 million in infrastructure projects going in the ground right now.
So, it's just as we get those invoices in, that money will start dwindling down.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okey dokey, so Sanford has bailed on us again, and you're not gonna take his place?
Well, I would love to. We're just gonna be good stewards of your time.
Okay.
And he will be with you at the council workshop session in 2 weeks to deliver some updates, so,
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
yes, sir.
So do I hear a motion on the consent?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. King?
Just a reminder that over the next month, well, month and a half, really, we will have several meetings as it relates to our budget for next year and the adoption of the budget, along with public hearings and votes on our tax rate. So we'll get to see each other quite a bit over the next 6 weeks. And we would encourage our citizens to follow along with that and either come to the meetings or watch them to give you guys as much input as possible on the budget as we kind of finish putting that together and get it adopted. And city offices will be closed on September 4th in observance of Labor Day. That's it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Durfee?
I just want to start off by thanking everybody for coming out to the concert series, and to Doug Montgomery and Jason and our Parks and Rec for putting those on all summer. It was a lot of fun, and it was great, and I appreciate that. And as crazy as it is to say, the school's gonna be starting in the next 2 weeks, so good luck to everybody on first day of school, which also means we're going to be having, what, 10,000, 12,000 new students?
Record enrollment.
Yes, coming within the month.
Every year.
So,
record enrollment.
every year. So, let's show some grace and show what Stephenville is made of, and welcome all these kids and parents, some of them, to our town. So, that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Askey?
No comment.
Mr. Reason?
No comment.
Well, I'm gonna talk then. Since no one stole everything I was gonna say this time. I was gonna let everybody know, just like Mr. McClinton said, it is a great place to live in great time to live in Stephenville. You drive around town, you see the sticks in the air of all these new construction projects, the roads being fixed, our parks looking great. It's amazing. We're blessed with great directors, every single one of you, great chiefs, and y'all truly make Stephenville a great place to live, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
No comment.
All right. Then, in accordance with the provisions of the Texas Open Meeting Law, Subchapter D, Government Code, Vernon's Texas Code, annotated in accordance with Section 551071, consult with attorney, Section 551087, deliberations regarding economic development, and Section 551.074, personnel matters. We're going to enter into an executive session, so I will call us adjourned here at 6:04, and we will meet back after executive session with whatever action is necessitated. Thank you all for being here. it is 7:19, and I will call this session of the Stephenville City Council back into order. Is there any action coming out of executive session?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we authorize a change in City of Stephenville Personnel Policy 4.02, vacation leave as presented in executive session.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. There is no further items on our agenda, so we will stand adjourned at 7:20.